YouTube. Today I'll be bringing you my top 25 album of the year list. And before I get started, I want to show my favorite EP of the year, and that is Dear Insanity by Eye of Solitude. Eye of Solitude is kind of a funeral doom album as of the last couple of releases, but this EP kind of shows them going towards a dark ambient with some experimental and also funeral doom edges, which is very nice. It's one song and it's 50 minutes, so it is very challenging to listen to, but that's the kind of stuff I'm into. I like the super long, doomy songs. It's not for everyone, trust me. It's very slow, kind of monotonous in the beginning, but it's worth it. If you're a doomie, then you should check that out. So, Eye of Solitude, Dear Insanity. And now on to the real list. Alright. 25. The Necrotic Manifesto by Aborted. Aborted needs no introduction. They are the gore fathers of death grind. Well, while maybe not being the first, they're most certainly the most popular, and I'd say the biggest. And they're easy to invest in. No album I've ever listened to by theirs is subpar or even ordinary. Everyone has something special about it. This one's more grind oriented than Global Flatline was, and I kind of like that more. There's a lot more songs, I'd say. And I got the deluxe edition with the bonus tracks and everything, so I think it came out to like 17 songs or something. So every song is well written. The solos on it are incredible. That's what I really liked about that, was the few solos that are on there are very good. And overall, just another solid album by Aborted. If you've heard them before, you know you're going to get. So number 25, Necrotic Manifesto. Number 24, Venereal Dawn by Dark Fortress. Dark Fortress is a German black metal band that kind of play by their own style. I don't know if I like this more than Ilem, because it was more all over the place, which I kind of like. This one's much more concise, even though it's very long. And in my opinion, that's the biggest detractor, is it kind of sticks around longer than it should. But it's still good. I hated it at first because it wasn't an Ilem Part 2, and I don't know why I expected that. But I came around to it, I listened to it many more times after that, and it grew on me. And the beginning and the end are the strong points, and the middle is kind of where it drags on a little bit. But again, it's very good. So yeah, 24, Venereal Dawn by Dark Fortress. Number 23, The Satanist by Behemoth. I'm sure everyone has seen this album by now and needs no introduction. Behemoth have been around forever. This is more black metal oriented than Evangelion was, by a large margin actually. I do like it. It didn't blow me away like most people did, but it's very convincing. They know what they're doing. They've been around forever. They're kind of like Aborted, where they haven't really made anything bad in my opinion, and I do like this a lot. Probably not as much as their black metal roots, but I still love it. So 23, Satanist by Behemoth. Number 22, 13 Steps to Ruination by Annihilated. Annihilated is a brutal death metal band. It's kind of standard brutal death metal, but it's extremely well written, intelligent, and pretty unique lyrical content with kind of anti-political. Kind of reminds you of thrash lyrics, I guess. But it's not thrashy at all, trust me. It has some great guest appearances. I'm pretty sure Sven from Aborted guest appears on this. Very heavy, very brutal. Nothing you haven't heard before, but it's right in your face, brutal death metal, and you know you're going to get. There's not a ton of surprises, But everything on here is on point, and I have no complaints, and it's very good. So, number 22, Annihilated, the 13 Steps of Ruination. 21, Tibia Igni by Vader. I'm not gonna lie, this is my introduction to Vader. I'm one of those people that kind of stays away from the bigger bands, which this album kind of changed my mind on doing that, because it kind of surprised me how well written, intense, convincing, and how fast the album went by, considering how long these guys have been around. Not like knocking them for their age or anything, but this album blew my mind. It was a blind buy. I'm like, yeah, I might as well buy it. It was on sale, and I bought it, and I didn't believe what I was hearing, because this is some fast stuff. The solos are crazy, the guitars are out of control, the vocals are great, very recognizable vocals by Vader. And everything comes together just as you'd want it to. So, if you pass this one up, do yourself a favor, pick up Tibia Igni by Vader. Number 20, The Wreckage of Stars by Black Crown Initiate. Now, this was a blind buy for me. I didn't know what it was. I thought the cover was kind of neat, and I was hoping it wouldn't be something horrible, because I didn't recognize the label either. But I bought it, and I loved it immediately. This is the kind of stuff I get my most enjoyment out of. A lot of bands like this kind of drag on, or don't do enough to keep your brain interested. A lot of it kind of blends together for me, but this band did certainly enough to make themselves stand out from the group of all the other proggy death metal. Amazing clean vocals. The drums, I believe, were handled by someone from Rings of Saturn. Don't quote me on that. But the drums are amazing. The guitars are amazing. There's some very meaningful acoustic parts. I feel like a lot of bands shoehorn acoustic into their albums just for the sake of having it in there, but they actually mean something. They're catchy, they're remarkable. So yeah, number 20, Black Crown Initiate with The Wreckage of Stars. Number 19, Ego Dominus Tuus by Nightbringer. Nightbringer is a US black metal group, and they hold themselves to a very high standard. Every album they've ever had is incredibly intricate, detailed, long, thoughtful, meaningful. Everything you could ever ask for out of a traditional black metal band, because it is kind of traditional black metal. It's not run-of-the-mill by any means. This is incredible stuff. Very fast, very... It gets its point across slowly, which is the point of the album. You're going to want to ingest it. It's going to take many listens to get what this album is trying to say, because it's very complex, layered, well crafted, and mixed. I had one tiny problem with this, and at some points the guitars and the vocals seem to get to their highest points, like on their octaves sometimes, so it kind of makes my ears bleed. Not really, but it kind of gives me a headache because it gets so high-pitched sometimes, but that's a very small nag, and that might just be me. So yeah, number 19, Ego Dominus Tuus by Nightbringer. Number 18, 3, Hear Me O Death, Sing Thou Wretched Choirs by Encoffination. Encoffination is a doom death band, mostly focusing on doom, and this is some of the filthiest, slowest, vomit-inducing doom death I've ever heard. It's natural to listen to this and feel like you need to take a shower afterwards, because you're going to feel like you've been rolling around in a mired swamp, because it's so slow. The production is kind of not the best. It's not bad, but it's meant to be like that. The vocals are way in the back, and they're kind of whispered, gargles. It's kind of hard to explain. It's very unique. You don't hear much of stuff kind of like this, especially in this genre. But the drums are incredibly slow. The guitars are heavy. There's some effects going on in the background, especially with some of the openings. And everything here is slow, monotonous, and gross in all the best ways. So if you like Doom Death and you like really intense, not fast, but intense Doom Death, then check out this. 3 Hear Me O Death, Sing That Which Requires by Encoffination. Number 17. Cultivate the Apostate by Abysmal Torment. Abysmal Torment is a brutal death metal band from Malta, and while I wasn't a huge fan of their last album, mostly because of the production, this album is one of the heaviest, most brutal albums I've heard in a long time. This has been out for most of the year, I think. I've had it since it came out. I pre-ordered on Willowtip. And the guitar wall and the vocals are so thick and massive that over the hour that this album lasts, yes, a brutal death metal album that lasts an hour, and it has a lot of songs on it, like 13 or 14 or something. The vocals and the guitars like make me insane in a good way, although the vocals kind of get on my nerves a little. Other than that, everything comes together. There's the tiniest bit of slam influence, I guess, very, very little. You can barely pick up on it, but it's incredible. The artwork on this here, let me show you this. Some great art. That's another thing I like to focus on, is the art. If you get into art any, if you like that side of the music, definitely read the lyrics and look at the booklet while you're listening to this, because it's great. Everything comes together. This is one of my favorite brutal death metal albums I've heard in a long time. So, Cultivate the Apostate by Abysmal Torment. Number 16. Carnifex, Die Without Hope. Now, say what you will about the genre of deathcore. I like the genre idea, but most bands do not do their part in holding up their end of the bargain with giving a name to the community. And Carnifex is one of those bands that does all of that and more. They have influences from many genres, and they throw that into their album mix, their performances, and their vocals. The vocals are probably my favorite part of this, because most deathcore vocals I cannot stand. But one thing I did like about this was that, while I normally do not like layered vocals either, they layered the high vocals with the low vocals, and they made a baby, and they smush them together, and it sounds incredible. It sounds very monstrous, humongous, powerful, convincing, everything that you need in a good deathcore album. The guitars are very shreddy, death metal influenced. There's some black metal influence in there. The drums are great, the bass is great. The effects and the synths are incredible. I was very surprised to hear that on an album like this. I don't know why, but it's very good. Probably the best deathcore album I've ever heard. So check out Die Without Hope by Carnifex, and also that artwork rules. Number 15, if I can get it. Earthborn Evolution by Beyond Creation. Beyond Creation is a Canadian progressive technical death metal band, and for some reason their first album got mixed reviews, and that kind of boggles my mind, because it's almost a near perfect technical death metal album in my opinion. I can't reason with people who think that that album isn't good. Everything came together right, and this album is by no means a continuation, I think. They stepped up their songwriting, which is where I think the Aura lacked. It was a little choppy and abrupt at some points, Everything in this is smooth as a baby's bottom. All of the transitions, drums, guitars, solos, riffs, vocals, everything comes together seamlessly. Take that good or bad, because while that was a problem with the Aura, I think that's kind of what gave it some character. But I think this album is incredible. There's some very jazzy moments. A couple of the tracks kind of remind me, like the guitar tone in the beginning sounds like a slap bass, which is not even the bass, it's the guitar tone. And if they can pull that off, then more props to them. So, number 15, Beyond Creation with Earthborn Evolution. Number 14, Audrey Fall with Matau. I have no idea if that's how you say it. It's, for the sake of the video, I'm just going to say Matau because, you know. Anyway, Audrey Fall is from Latvia, and they are a post-metal, post-rock fusion, I guess, and it's all instrumental. And it is some of the most well-crafted and beautiful post-metal I've heard in a long time. I'm not a connoisseur of this kind of thing. I can get into it every once in a while, and this is something that definitely piques my taste. It's edited to sound like one long song, which I know a lot of people don't like, but I think that's the only way something like this works, because every song kind of has a similar structure, where it's like build-up, climax, huge build-up, huge climax. And the huge climax is typically the heaviest or the most awe-inspiring, beautiful part of the album. And if all of the songs were kind of standalone, I think it would kind of defeat the purpose. So the editing, all of the songwriting, and especially the drumming. Bands like this typically, I feel, don't have interesting drums, but that was the first thing I picked up when I listened to this album, was that the drums have very unique time signatures, patterns, can keep a complex beat for extended periods of time, which is impressive. So yeah, if you're into post-metal or post-rock, check out Matau by Audrey Fall. Number 13, Esoteric Warfare by Mayhem. Mayhem is another one of those bands that need no introduction. They are one of the forefathers of black metal, from the first wave, of course. The most infamous band maybe ever, besides maybe Gorgoroth. While I haven't liked every Mayhem album, I've given most of them a try, and this is, bar none, my favorite Mayhem album, even more so than De Mysteriis. The vocals, if you haven't heard Attila's vocals, his vocals are just crazy. You can't even describe it to someone. It's like listening to someone like give a testimonial why they shouldn't go to prison because they're insane. It's complex, confusing. It's going to take a lot of listens to understand what's going on, because the songwriting is very complex, kind of disjointed at some parts, which gives it character. It doesn't stay around too long. The guitars are handled by Tellock, I think, and of course he does an amazing job. Hellhammer on drums obviously is going to do his part and do an amazing job also. So if you haven't heard of this, you probably should have. Esoteric Warfare by Mayhem. Number 12, Bloodbath with Grand Morbid Funeral. Bloodbath is a old school death metal band, and while I'm not a huge fan of old school death metal, I heard this album and I was like, yeah, and I bought it and I was like, yeah, and then I listened to it a bunch more and I'm like, this is awesome. This is some sweet, sweet death metal. The guitars on this make the album. If they didn't have such good guitars, I think it would just be kind of substandard, I guess. But the guitars are incredible. The drums do their part. The vocals are very gruff, not guttural, new age, brutal death metal style. I like the vocals. It's the only thing that would kind of fit with this. It's another one of those albums like Cacophonation where it's really dirty sounding and ugly. You want to take a shower after listening to it. And that's kind of what the cover stands for. But yeah, great old school death metal. If you haven't heard of this, check this out. Grand Morbid Funeral by Bloodbath. And number 11. This will probably be the last one I do for this video because I don't want to get it too long. I'll split this up into 2 parts, 25 through 11 in this one and 10 through 1 on the next, because I want to spend a little bit more time on those. I don't want this to be an hour-long video. So, number 11. Benighted with Carnivore Sublime. It is impossible to tell someone what kind of genre Benighted is. Probably the most accurate, I guess, would be some kind of experimental death grind. Other than that, you can't say much about it other than listening to it because there's no words that can describe it. The vocals are some of the most insane vocals, not just like lyrics, but performance and variance. They're all over the place. There's some spoken word stuff, there's high-pitched screams, there's gutturals, there's pig squeals, there's everything you could ever ask for from a vocal performance, and it's all from the same dude. There's not, I don't think there are 2 vocalists in the band. I know there are some guest appearances, but you know what I mean. The guitars, drums, bass is super heavy. Everything works together. There's no one thing that seriously stands out. It all culminates into what you'd want it to be. It's a very unpredictable album. If you know what's going to happen next, no you don't. You don't know what's going to happen next on this. That's kind of like their last album, Asylum Cave. I don't know if I like this more than Asylum Cave, because that's an incredible album also. But, yeah. Benighted with Carnivore Sublime. And that is going to be the end of this video. I will post the other one shortly. I'll probably record it right now. But I want to split up into 2 videos, so hopefully you enjoyed. Maybe you've found some bands that you didn't know about. And I will see you next time.